Hello, in this tutorial I want to show you my process for correcting field rotation of LDS mounts, like the Solar Quest for example, specifically when you have taken a stack of footage for a solar animation. The programs being used will be imPPG and the video editing software Davinci Resolve. Note that the latter does require a somewhat decent processor as well as 16 GB of RAM. I will try to go step by step if you don't have any experience with Davinci Resolve. First we're going to go to the Tools option. Note this is the German version, but the tools and tabs should be in the same place. Tools, and there should only be one option, which is our alignment tool. You go to wherever you have your stacked images ready and processed. I didn't do any post-processing, these are just straight out of the auto stacker without doing any curve adjustments, etc. But just for intention, just for demonstration purposes. Now you go down here, you have two options which are important. One is the stabilization method and one is the cropping method. Either you're going to crop the image, so every image has the same area showing, or you can expand the image around the edges so that there's going to be black borders if there's field rotation eventually. But I've had more success using this version because you're already going to crop the image later in Davinci Resolve, so I choose the second option. And you can choose to stabilize based on high contrasting features or based on the edges of the sun. I have had much better results using edges of the sun instead of contrasting features, but the first one might be your only option if you are zoomed in on the center of the sun and don't have any edges visible. Just note that personally I have had more success using just edges of the sun. You choose your outputs folder and let the program do its processing. Now that our images have been aligned by imPPG, you can see the image has been expanded around the edges to have a black border, but that's okay. We're going to crop in later in Davinci Resolve using the video editing software. So next up you're going to open Davinci Resolve, create a new project. And there are a couple of settings you have to choose when you begin a project in Davinci Resolve. One of them being your video frame rate you're going to output later. You have to choose this at the beginning of your editing. You can't change it later. So going to go to the top left, go to Files, Master Settings, and there should be Timeline Frame Rate. Choose whichever you prefer, 24, 30, 60. I like a high frame rate, so I'm going to choose 60 FPS. And you can also choose a custom resolution, whichever you prefer. So we've just chosen our resolution and our frame rate for the video. Next up, we're going to have to import the images, but before that we have to go to the top left in Davinci Resolve, go to Preferences, go to User, go to Editing, scroll down and you're going to see under General Settings, Standard Still Duration. I think by default this is 5 seconds, but you will have to choose frames 1. If you don't do this, when you import images, they're going to be on the timeline for 5 seconds. That's going to be really cumbersome to fix, so just choose frames 1. It's much easier this way. Once you've done this, click Save and switch to our editing area down here. Next up, we are going to import all our images that have been aligned using imPPG and drag them onto the timeline we have in Davinci Resolve. Just select all of them and drag them down onto your edit timeline. This is going to take a moment, these are a lot of files. It looks like it's crashed, but it's going to load eventually. Here we are, it's still loading. Now our images are on the timeline. It might, depending on your PC, it might not be as smooth, but now they're on the timeline. In case they are not in the correct arrangement, you can rearrange these by going to the top left on the media pool, and here you see all your imported files. If you record it using a software like File Capture, these should all have a timestamp in their name. What you could do if these are not aligned, in this case they should be aligned, but if they're not, you can delete these again, scroll up, select the first image, scroll down, shift, left click, and drag these back on the timeline. Now they should definitely be in the correct order. You can zoom in on the timeline here using the minus and plus buttons, and you can see that each frame is basically being treated as its own file. We want to create a merged video out of all of these. So we're going to zoom out and make sure we can see all our images and select all of them. And now we're going to right click, go up here and choose the option New Fusion Clip. So all these images have now been merged into what's basically a video file, and you can do really good, much easier processing on these now. Next up, we're going to go to the Fusion tab, where we're going to implement a stabilization feature. You hit, you choose Media in 1, Shift, Spacebar to open the Select tool, and you're going to search for planar tracking or planar tracker. If you've clicked on Media in 1, it's going to automatically arrange the planar tracker in your nodes. Next up, you're going to go to the right under Inspector and choose on tracker instead of point, hybrid point area. And the motion type we want to correct is translation and rotation. Now we're going to choose on our files. One thing you have to do, you have to make sure that the tool starts at the beginning of the video. So just scroll back using this button. And now you can select a high contrasting feature you want to track in Davinci Resolve. I'm going to track this sunspot region. Once you have selected this and connected the dots here, you can go to the right again, choose this button to let the software do its image processing or image analyzation first. This is going to take a moment too. As you can see, the software is tracking this area. Those lines going in and out are the bad frames which are not properly aligned, but I believe the image software should be able to account for these. Now that the image has been analyzed or the video footage has been analyzed, you can go to operation mode, choose stabilize, and if you play the footage now, you can see that the video has been stabilized for rotation and positioning. You can scrub through these and you can see it's really well aligned. It also at the same time actually fixed any images that were out of alignment that imPPG didn't properly align previously. So this image stabilization worked really well. Now we're going to go back to our editing tab on the bottom on edit, and you will see that our video footage we have just stabilized is now on the timeline and ready for more editing like zooming in, positioning, rotation, etc. On the top right you can see on the transform options you can zoom in, change the X and Y position of the video, rotation angle, just play around using these options until you are satisfied with the framing, rotation, and zoom level on your video. What you can also do is change the speed of your video clip by right-clicking on your clip and choosing Change Clip Speed, and speed up or slow down the video however you feel. I just doubled the speed on this video. It should be really fast animation now. Finally, to export your video, you go to the bottom right on the rocket symbol, and that's your exporting area in Davinci Resolve. Here you can change the name of the file. For example, I'm just going to call it animation. Change the file type. I'm going to choose AVI uncompressed. And you see that the resolution and frame rate we previously selected is now here, ready to go. Now you hit Add to Render Queue, change your saving folder, and just hit Render All. And now the video should be successfully exported as an AVI file uncompressed, and here is the result of the video. I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, just ask me on Cloudy Nights as a direct message, or ask in the YouTube comments.